And I'm live. There's no one else tonight. I'm flying solo on this Thursday night jam with RCJesus and SASquatch. SASquatch, aka Chris, had a lot going on. He's super busy, so he wasn't able to make it tonight. Unfortunately, Jeremy has some stuff going on, so he wasn't able to sub co-host. And as seems to happen to me fairly regularly, not sure why I get this disrespect, but my guest flaked. So you got just me tonight. That's it. Um, what we're gonna mess with is the RC Everyday and Reef's RC build I'm doing here. Story behind this: last year at Beat the Creek, Reef and Jeremy Kilburn and a few other guys got to talking, and I got roped into it on doing a build off for USTE this year, which, as we all know, would have came and went, but did not happen due to other circumstances going on where they were busy and couldn't do it. So it's now supposed to be Beat the Creek. The group chat is dead. It's crickets. No one's talking about it. No one's posting about it. So how many people are actually following through and showing up to Beat the Creek with these builds to do, I am completely unsure. But I know at least me and a few other guys are doing it, so it'll be fun. And it's a good just process and practicing custom building for me. It's been a while since I've done something like this. Uh, so it's been enjoyable and honestly pretty easy of a build so far. The rules are you have to use the RC Everyday RatRod chassis kit because the shop truck kit did not exist at the time, and you need to use a Reef servo, at least one. And then you're supposed to have another function. Ideally, it would be servo or motor operator or whatever. I talked to Reef. I'm gonna make the wrecker hookup for the boom crank functional, so it's a third function you just have to use by hand because that's scale to what this truck is. It would not have had an electric winch. I don't think they existed back in the 20s and 30s. If they did, it would have been real pricey and probably relatively weak. They might have had PTO or hydraulic winches, but those were probably new and expensive as well and unreliable. So the old hand crank with gear reduction is how it goes. Um, so that'll be my third function, and you have to do all the work yourself. You're not allowed to have anyone paint it. You're not allowed to have anyone do your chassis work, your wiring, any of that stuff. So that was all the stipulation and rules for this build off build. I can take it out right now and show you where I've gotten so far. As many of you will know, usually the chassis from RC Everyday have a step back here. So you can slam it right down and have axle clearance. Well, this is a short, small little body, as a Model T truck would be in real life. So I just wiped them right off. I just took masking tape, taped my straight line, and Dremel with a cutoff wheel in a few seconds, and voila. I've installed a Reese 99 in the front here. If you watched when I was working on this a while back, I had to adjust where it was going because originally the servo would stick out like here, and I couldn't have that because of the way it'll fit on here that I'll show you later. So I was gonna get some hollow tube and use that as spacers, like those silver ones right there. But I didn't have any that was the right size at the shop. It was either all solid or it was way too big a hollow tube. So I was in the shop and I went to looking on the Dubro wall and I found these, if I can get it to focus without the light messing it up. Replacement crimps. So they're just simply uninsulated crimps, basically. And they were the perfect size. A little too long, but not so long that I had to cut them off. I just moved my servo inboard a little more, as you can see. Ideally, I would have had it perfectly flush, but I didn't feel like holding these tiny little things with pliers or going out to the vise and cutting them all equally. So I just said, screw it. Let's put it together as is. It'll work fine. No problems. What's up, Rob? Yeah, I bet you do, Panama Red. What's up, GP? Mr. Chris? Mark, nice. Yep, you got repurposed stuff. Dylan, go on. Leave me alone. Another thing, I don't know how many of you guys saw the last one, if you'll be able to tell, but I'm using scale hardware everywhere to keep it legit. Scale hardware bolts everything on. I see, I still have two I forgot to put in over here. Oh no, they're in. No, they're not. So I got two I got to put in there. They're out, but I got all this hooked up, all the RC Everyday standard parts. I don't know. It comes with these two cross members because, like I said, I cut a lot of chassis off and they're a lot longer. I may use one in the back here. I may not. I don't plan on it at this point, but we'll see as the build progresses how that goes. I know I've talked about this on here before, but for scale hardware stuff, you cannot beat the Weeha tool sets. Comes in the nice little bag that holds them all. About to lose all my crimps there. And they work awesome, and it's not that expensive. I think this was for all these was like $100 or something. And for good tools, we all know that's cheap. No worries, GP. I saw you were online, but I realized just because you were posting 30 seconds earlier doesn't mean you'll answer a phone call. So I'd gotten done with this. I ended up bullshitting with Hemi Storm Chris last night for a long time, having a good time. Was able to bullshit about a lot of BS I got going on and get some stress release. I've used the RC four-wheel drive transmission as this kit's built for. Like I said, even scale hardware there. It went in nicely and works. I'm just going to find a cheap little shaft. And I've got a prototype motor in here. So I've got it all covered up to hide it because I can't be showing it off. But that'll be cool. It is 2700 kV. I think I can let that go and it's okay. So this should scoot pretty well, but still have pretty good low speed control and torque. Onto the body. This was a cheap Chinese made tin body. One of the other shows, this was all wired up. You can see here where those wires are. I cut it all off to get a start. All of this stuff, I'm gonna have Chris 3D print up. So that this hand crank actually works, because right now this is just a static display model. So I took it, I hacked the axles that were on it off. You can see where they were mounted there, and I just ground it off. And then I started going to town on actually cutting it out, because that was all flat metal there. So I wanted this inner part to have the sides to kind of hide stuff and leave it more structurally rigid and look a little bit transmission tunnelish, because you're not going to see the top part with the tranny in, so it'll look a little better. I experimented with leaving a little narrow one here to fold up and in, but it looked like shit. So I just went and cut it. As you can see, I assume these things are kind of built hack. I think every single one is probably built different. They're just some 12-year-old kid in China tack welding them all together. So this side cut nice and straight and even with the hood. This side, as you can tell, it's not built square. And it's still welded to the front and whatnot. So I do have that there, but that'll all hide away when the frame's on it. All of my electronics and battery storage will go up in here. You can see into the interior right now there in the seat. I did have to cut out this part of the seat to clear the transmission. I plan to do probably a firewall of styrene right here to help hide all that stuff when you're looking in from the interior. It did have a steering wheel. That came out when I was hacking stuff up. There's what's left of it, so I'll probably cut it off around there somewhere and just stick it up in here like so, and epoxy or CA glue it in just to have the steering wheel back in there. I could, now that it's been hacked, I could potentially make a servo mount and hook it to a servo and everything and a proper steering wheel, but I don't think I'm going to go that far. I'm running out of time for that kind of details. What's up, Tommy? Who knows what kind of motor it is, Mark? I'm not saying shit. So it will fit nicely right there. My rear fits onto the bed. So where those two screws were on the top, I'm going to have to take all that apart and drill out 2 holes, and it's going to mount there. And then I'm going to drill holes through the front that will go into the front side of the servo mount to mount there. And I think that will be enough of a body mount for what this is going to do. I may come back someday and build the proper body mounts in there for 100% scale like I'd intended to do originally. But as always, time is getting away from me. Busy. I get pulled everywhere all the time. Running businesses is a giant pain in the ass, and you never can schedule anything the way you want. So it is what it is. Good luck, Mark. You know better than that. Yeah. Nope Nationals 2002, Hotlanta. I've had this shirt 22 years. That was a good time. That was a really fun trip. Back in the day when I was building lowriders and mini trucks and all that stuff for real, we drove down to Atlanta Speedway at that time. It was at, and it was huge. It was the whole speedway. I don't think any of this crap even exists anymore. I don't think it has for years. But I've been out of that scene for years, so I don't know. So, anyways, that's where we stand at this point. I don't think I have any more real modifications to do to the body. I think it's all pretty good and all going to work out well. I may have to cut some more of the end of the frame off there, or I may kind of build a hitch onto it. That may be scale and look right. I've got to decide. That's, decide for 20 minutes and 2 minutes to cut it off. Not a big deal. I will have these wheels, style wheels, the old spokes like that. I'm going to have Chris print me some of those up. And I'm going to run the little Pitbull military tires, the Temcos. If you're familiar with the RC four-wheel drives, I call them the DUKWs, or the Duckwas, as I call them. What's up, RC Junkyard? Yep, I used to do a lot of stereo comps too, Tommy. I used to have my Mustang used to hit hard on 212s. I'd usually win my class all the time because no one could touch me. It's all about tuning those boxes, man, and doing your math. And so that's where I'm at. So I got to get this stuff off to Chris soon because obviously time is ticking away real fast for Beat the Creek, and he's got to print it and mail it to me. I've got to assemble it. I've got drive time to Beat the Creek. So my time for that is very short. I'm probably gonna have a matter of a few days to get the wheels done. But anyways, I'm gonna use the Pitbull 1.9s because they're much smaller than the RC four-wheel drive version. And I want little tires and wheels. I don't want huge ones. So this is gonna be a bit of a RatRod / scaler. It's gonna kind of be like if I'm gonna take it like the guy found this in the junkyard and just made it work and did some customization with a little modern transmission stuff and whatnot to make it reliable and whatnot. But that's my goal. Yeah, exactly, Rob. They're pretty small, so I think they'll fit really well. But I mean, honestly, besides mounting some electronics, Dylan, fuck off, man. And some drilling some holes for things and getting my 3D printed parts, I'm pretty close to done and having a functioning vehicle. And then that's all I have to have, right? It's got to work and function. You got to do all the work yourself. It's got to be the RC Everyday chassis, and it's got to have Reef servo. So I'm pretty much there. That's why I said I'm halfway or a little overdone from halfway. I'm not sure. I think I might just leave this spare tire and wheel in for now. Again, I may come back in time later and do my body mounts and maybe change that out to what I have and scale out the interior a little more and stuff like that. But this is just something I got asked if I wanted to do, and I was like, sure, why not? It's been a minute, let's do it. So I don't really give a shit. I'm not trying to win. I never care about getting trophies or anything. If I get first or second place or something and whatever, wonderful. It's a great bonus. If I don't get shit, so be it. I had fun building a cool car and practicing skills and maybe learning some new ones. Thanks, Jeremy. It's been a good time. Wait, well, I'll touch up paint the Temcos. Maybe that's a good idea because a lot of people don't know this, but rubber is actually white. And very old bike and even some of the car tires were white. That's why the Michelin Man is white. It's only black because they put carbon black in it, both to make them black and to add, I think it's UV resistance or something. And it makes the rubber tougher. But hence the reason the white tire is there. So, of course, Jeremy would know that. Mr. Sergeant Major Kilburn, although he's retired now. We're leaving Wednesday evening. I am leaving Wednesday evening as well, but I am a chaperone for my daughter's class. Her 5th grade class is going to Universal, and it is that Wednesday. So I'm going to be at Universal all day long, walking miles and miles in the heat with watching a bunch of kids, and then I've got to come home, immediately basically get in the car. I'm gonna have to pack the day before and have the car ready to go. So I'll get home, immediately get in the Bronco, hopefully if I have it done, if not the Subaru, and then beeline probably to the state line, Florida, Georgia line, somewhere around there. Crash and then get up in the morning and make the rest of my trip up to Maysville. I originally wanted to get there Thursday afternoon to help set up the barn for the 114 stuff because Jeremy Hemroll and I are running that, and get my gear jammer table and booth and everything set up in there and all that stuff organized so I could just walk right in Friday morning and be good to go. But I'm thinking I'm probably not going to be to Maysville until 6, 7 o'clock if I'm lucky, potentially 8, 9 o'clock at night. So getting anything set up Thursday is out the window. So I guess I get up early Friday, take my secret way to cut right in and get in early, I hope, as a vendor, because we can get in before they open the gates and get everything started to set up at least before everyone starts piling in and it starts to get hectic. What else we got going here? Well, I want big ass wheels, Robert. They didn't run 15s and stuff back in the day. Those old wood wheels were fucking huge. They were way bigger. So I want the 19s. Because people think like 20s are new, but 20s ain't shit new at all. That's like is about as original as you get as far as sizes go. Yeah, I won't be there Thursday, GP, so that's out the door. That'll be a Friday morning thing. So it is what it is. So be it. I'm gonna have way more fun in making memories, chaperoning my daughter and her friends and stuff at Universal because there'll be multiple parents and we kind of get grouped up, 5, 6 kids. So hopefully it's me and Cadence and her friends, and we can have a good old time hanging out. And, we know the parks, so we'll run right through it and try and hit everything. So that'll be a good time. So it's a bummer that I'm gonna be a little late to Beat the Creek, but it's for a good reason, and I'd much rather do that. Honestly, if I just skip Beat the Creek because of it, fuck it, I would. She comes first. But so it'll be a bit of a hectic nightmare for me pre-event as always. That's always the standard fare for me. Um, but yeah, I guess at this point that's about it. I figured I'd jump on here and do it alone, even though no guest or co-host, to let you guys know what's up and talk to some of you guys. It's been a minute we're off, but I also figure I'd make it a short one. So if anyone's got any other questions or comments, go ahead. I may sit here and dick around with trying to get my body mounts in. I may not. I did grab my drill and drill bits in case I got feeling froggy. And if we get some comments going, maybe I'll sit here and stare at it for a bit and get enticed too. But if not, I'll do it later tonight or tomorrow or something. I had a busy day today, so I didn't get any more work done to it, but at least I got stuff done last night. What else? What else? My original goal, which I don't think I'll ever do now, no matter if I put more time in this in the future or not, was to cut all this out and make the hood really fold and hinge up like the proper deal and sit there. But getting in to cut all that apart from either side and make it clean and nice will be a real fucking nightmare. So I think that idea has gone out the window, but that's okay because now that gives me all that space where I have virtually really nowhere else for battery, receiver, speed control, wiring, all that good stuff that you have to do. What's the secret way? Wouldn't be a secret if I told people, would it? I'm not sure if I'm going to paint the rails or not, Eddies. They're rusting up so nicely. I don't think I'm going to. Because I think it's in here. I know some of you guys are familiar with this, Metal Masters. And it's real rust. So, Dylan, leave me alone. What that stuff does, if you're not familiar with it, I haven't used it in a year, probably 2 years now. But you put a coat on, and then you put there's 3 stages to it. I can't remember how they all go. Someone in here might know. But there's 3 stages, and it actually puts metal on and really rusts. It's like kind of like an adhesive or bonding deal, I think, and then like metal paint, and then the rust activator. And you just let it sit. And the longer it sits, and especially if it's in a humid environment or it gets wet, the more it rusts. And I think then there's an encapsulator that you can put over it to stop it from rusting. I usually am not too concerned with that. It can keep rusting away. So since it's already pretty rusty and looking nice and scale, I think I'm just going to keep handling it. Maybe spray some, what is it? Vinegar. What is it that you use to rust shit? I might just spray some salt water on it, honestly, and let it rust out. And then I'll use the Metal Masters stuff on this and rust the whole bottom side. And then get some on the top, but I'm going to leave the top just kind of weathered and patinaed. And most of the rust will stick to the underside of the chassis. I do not know what I'm going to run for an axle yet, Rob. Actually, I have stuff laying around. Uh, and that's my plan, honestly, is just to dig through the parts bin. Ow, don't sit your bone in my chair, Dick. And rummage the parts bin. I'm hoping I've got the semi truck front axle. I can grab Dylan. Seriously, fuck off. Go. And that I believe will fit pretty well because this is off a the Red Rider that I turned into an all-wheel drive 6x6 unit, if you'll call it. And this pulled off and it's ready to go. As I recall, when I mocked it up, it's gonna fit beautifully. That's gonna be perfect. It'll be a little wide, but it'll mount right to the frame rails nicely. I'll probably take a leaf spring out or so because this thing's fairly light. And then as long as we print the wheels with the right back spacing, they're gonna sit right at the edges, a little bit out. But that's okay. I don't mind that. Again, it's like a hacked up project someone saved from the junkyard. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And in real life, my goal is, oh, this guy just got it and started building it with shit he had laying around. So I'm doing the same thing, just the scale RC way. The rear end, I plan to hope and work out that a RC four-wheel drive axle will work, but I think like a Yoda or something, because that's going to look fairly scale to something from this day. As we all know, they had the narrow little diffs in them and stuff, but it'll work. Again, maybe blew the axle out and swapped it to a 50s third member axle he had laying around. And hopefully it will go right there. It will be leaf sprung as well because it's scale and it's easy and it's reliable and it's tough. But I don't know yet. I gotta get it. I don't remember what the specs on the tire are. I looked them up last night. They're about 1 inch wide. I can't remember the height, but it's 3 something. They're pretty little. Then you used it wrong, GP. I've been using it for many years and it looks dead nuts scale if you do it right. You have to give it time too, though. You can't do and expect it to be perfect the next day if you want the right look. If you think it's going to look that way in one day, then you get kind of the flash rust look. So you got to use it appropriately, but when you do, it gets pitted looking and nasty in real scale. Yeah, I was thinking about semi would keep Rob keep the width the same on the rear axle, but that's a giant fucking axle, you know what I mean, as far as the thickness and the stoutness. I think I have some of those laying around too. But you know, I just thought of, let's check this. This is my RC four-wheel drive Bronco 18th scale. This is probably gonna be way too small, but that actually I probably could make that work, but it's too small. So it wouldn't quite look right. And I guess I dropping shit. This that I still need to finish is what I prototyped up for GCM to do the scale drive line into a short wheelbase RC four-wheel drive. Everyone said it was impossible, so I said, fuck you, I'll make it work. And you can order these from GCM. You can't get the aluminum parts. They wasn't enough demand to justify making those, but you can get the 3D print files. So if you ever want to scale drive line, your SWB RC four-wheel drive, here it is. I designed it all a few years ago and they made it up. I don't think many people know about it, but let's see. Actually, with the hex and the right back spacing, I think I can make that look right. It might sit a little wider in the back, but again, if you're just throwing junkyard parts together, you're gonna have that shit. So that may be what I do. I know I've got Yodas and K44s and stuff laying around places and drawers and stuff. So that's always doable. 345 on the Temco. Okay, yeah, I knew they were little. I don't know. I've only ever seen the one, Chris. But there may be different ones. But yeah, metal affects rust. Damn that light. There it is. Metal affects rust. And you can rust at different levels. You know, it all depends on how much you apply, how much you accelerate it along, how long you let it sit and actually rust. If you let it go for 12 hours or 3 days or a month, all makes a difference. Yeah, well, not a tow truck like this though. I don't think they still, at this point, they were just taking regular trucks and rigging shit together with a welder and metal and making tow trucks. They were still new. BRX 70 axle is narrower, I know, but I don't deal with boom at the shop. I can't get those parts and I don't have them. They horrendously screwed me over back in the day, big time, on hundreds of dollars worth of stuff that came damaged, that they tried to make me jump through hoops for 6 months to warranty, until I just said, fuck it, I've already wasted more money and time trying to get this warranted. So I don't deal with them anymore. Screw me like that once, we're done. So that's not an option for me. But I think it'll come along and look nice. Is it gonna win? Probably not. Do I care? Not at all. And will it be fun? Yep. And I get to help out checking a motor for temperatures and how it works and all that kind of stuff to make sure it's going to be good. That's always fun, making sure products are right on or even better than they can be. I enjoy that stuff. I will probably try and rig up a driver into it. Not sure who or what. I've got drawers full of them. Dylan, go entertain yourself. So whether it'll be one of the Doctor Who guys or a Western guy or one of the John Wicks, I don't know. Whoever I can get to fit in there. But yeah, that's where that stands. So I know, Jeremy, yours is done, right, for this? Because you built one, and Jeremy Griffith built one, and I'm building one. Wayne maybe built one. I can't remember. But I don't know how many people are even doing them anymore once it all changed. As you know just as well as I do. You're almost done. Okay. Just as well as I do, that group chat is dead. There's been nothing in there for months. So it's up in the air. But I expect at least a handful of people will do it. So that'll be cool. And just looking at how my steering might be here. Oh, you know what I can always do too? Split this around, which will actually probably work better. And that puts my steering pretty much dead nuts straight with it. So that's what I'll do. Flip the axle backwards like this. And that'll be nice. I won't have any crazy, angles to deal with, because as you know, Matt's building too. Okay, good. I was hoping at least a handful of us, half dozen to a dozen would do it. Even a half dozen would be cool. If a dozen or two show up with them, that would be awesome. I can't remember how many people were in the group. I think about a dozen to 2 dozen, I think, were in there. So yeah, it's all just simple stuff, dig parts out, cut things up, make it fit, bolt it together. Nothing special. Like real car shit, just a hell of a lot easier, because I'm not busting my knuckles as much, and I'm in here sitting down in AC watching YouTube or whatever, or bullshitting with you guys. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the Mike's towing service, because I have the RCJesus trucking stickers for my for my 114 trucks. I have excavating for the heavy equipment. And so what I think I might do is kind of sand it off half-ass so you can still kind of see it like it was faded and half wiped off, then not all the way, and then just stick the sticker over it in the middle. Make it look all janky on purpose, And then I think that would look cool too if I weather it all up and then I have a nice clean, fresh logo on there. It'll pop out and make it look a little different, I believe. We'll see how it goes. But I don't think I'm even gonna paint it. Quite frankly, I think it looks good as it is, all hodgepodged up. So I'll just patina it and weather it up. Maybe put a couple dents in it here and there. Not sure on that yet. And I plan to leave the boom the same, non-adjustable or anything. Just make the pulley up here work and all of this function. I've got to cut the tire grabbers are there, and you probably can't see, but they're tack welded on. So I'll have to cut those off and rig something up for those to work. But it'll be good size. I might almost, it's kind of on like the 1/12-ish size. It's going to be, the body technically, if you measure, it's 1/12, but then with everything else, I'm going to call it like 1/11. That's probably around where it'll kind of end up size-wise. So it might even look decent in certain shots sometimes with the heavy equipment and the semi trucks if I stage them right and use the right force perspective and stuff, which would be cool. Crack one of the headlights. Yeah, I was debating that too. The headlights are metal. This is 100% metal. There's nothing plastic on here. So that would be a little difficult. I actually have that I found at a really cool store we have here that has all kinds of random shit. They're plastic, old school, you know, with like kind of the bullet cone shape to the back of it, headlights that I could use. So I was debating whacking these ones right off there and then hooking those up and making them LED. And then I was saying, well, I could LED them as is, drill them out and do stuff. But again, that's, I think, coming down to the wire where that will be a maybe someday it'll get done if I get the ambition, but I probably won't have the time or energy or parts to do it before the event. And it'll be a daytime thing anyway, so we don't have to run them at night, so I don't need lights. But they would definitely be badass. Make up a couple rear tail lights, you know, no blinkers, of course. But it is what it is. I was also thinking about getting like some aluminum foil and gluing on there, and then you polish it out and it looks like a real mirror. But again, whether those kind of details get done or not, I'm not sure. I have a ton of possibilities to really scale this thing out 100%, which is generally where I like to go. 99% of my builds are 100% scale, U-bolts on the axles, you know, things like that. Using all the scale hardware. That's what I'm about, making a working model. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. I think it's looking good and turning out really well for just throwing shit together. The only thing I bought was the servo and the chassis and the body. And the body I found online. I spent an hour dicking around online. I had an idea that I want an older body like this. So I just Google search stuff and then shopping and images, and this popped up. It was actually kind of stupid expensive. I think this thing was like $120. Probably cost them all of $5 to make it. But it was worth it. It's cool. And it's pretty solid, right? Like when you got metal masher bodies like this stuff, they're super cool and super detailed, but they dent and ding really easily because they are thin. But that's the point, right? Is to get scale rock damage and trail damage and stuff. This one is pretty thin and it was easy to cut, but it's definitely harder tin. I can beat on it pretty hard, which is nice because then I don't have to worry about transporting it as much. One of the tough things with the really nice scale and detailed stuff is almost all the damage on my stuff like that comes from going to events and transporting it. 99% of it. It's not from using the semi truck or this or that. It's from taking it somewhere and a mirror gets broke off or a horn or an antenna or a light or this or that pisses you right off. But it is what it is. So this one, she's pretty stout. I don't have to worry about that. Thankfully, I can just throw it in there and go, which is nice. I got my receiver ready to go. I should stick that in. 6-channel Futaba because I'll run it on my 7PX as normal. So it runs everything up there. And yeah, so yeah, I broke a mirror off this evening on the hotel table, just moving the truck around. Yeah, because you are lucky and you get to go to Jeremy's event there in Ohio, man. Have fun. That should be a good time. It looks like he set up quite a sweet event in a great area. A lot of dirt to play in, a lot of space. Cool that people can camp there. I'm bummed I couldn't go, but with everything going on right now, there's no way I could go. So that's how it goes. You know, you pick it up the wrong way to move it. Yeah, there it goes. Son of a bitch, get the glue and the accelerator out and get it fixed. But you can only do that so many times before you have to buy new parts and fix it the right way. Hopefully there's a great turnout for that show up there. I don't know how many people are going. I haven't looked at the going or interested in the group, but you can't really ever judge by those anyways. People will say interested that are actually going, and people will mark going and then not show up. We all know how that goes. But I guess those 3D printed, I need to make a metal. Yeah. Yeah, anything 3D printed in particular, mirrors and stuff with spindly little things likes to snap easily. Even molded ABS does on my Red Rider. It's semi. It's got the 3 long posts that comes up. It's the Kong body. And you bump those things the wrong way. One of the 3 is broken, and before you know it, 2 of the 3 will be broken. So I got a hold of Jason a long time back when I was doing that, and was like, "Hey, you think I can get? I can't find lights or mirrors anywhere on the website. Can I get those?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." And Jason's a great guy, even though I had issues with his company, just screwing me over badly on stuff. That wasn't his fault. It's the people I was dealing with, and I'm not someone to whine and complain to the owner. It's your staff screwed me. So, but anyways, he was very kind and hooked me up as usual. Jason's a really nice guy and just sent me a bunch of mirrors and headlights. So I can break them a few times now, thankfully. Yeah, dude, Jeremy's been busy. I hope it's a good turnout for sure. He's been busy putting in a lot of work the last couple months on this. He's built a lot of cool stuff. And what's lucky for us going to Beat the Creek, if you're going to be playing in the barn at all, doing 114 stuff with semis or equipment or anything, a lot of the stuff he built and whatnot is kind of getting tested at this event he's doing in Ohio. I don't think he's shown a lot of what's going to be there, so I don't want to say anything and spoil it, even though it's tomorrow. But he's gotten pretty creative and built a lot of cool stuff. And if it all works out there, he's bringing it to BTC so we can set it all up in the barn there. So the barn at BTC this year should be really cool. Like we'll have Joe's scale and Joe's bridge and be able to build the overpass like usual. I want to try and get Joe's big windmills working, power generating ones. He's got 2 because we've never set those up. But then Jeremy will be coming with at least 3 or 4 other cool things that he's built, which will really set it off and make it even cooler than it has been in the past. He's loaning you something larger to run. Yeah, Jeremy's got plenty of equipment. He's got several trucks and a lot of equipment. At any given time, you can count on Jeremy to have about 15 to 20 pieces of equipment at least with him. So you will have no problem finding stuff to run. Because he's probably not going to be able to run as much if he's hosting and running the event. He's going to be spending most of his time running around, talking to his vendors and sponsors, making sure everybody's good, probably dealing with crap from whoever's running the whole fair that it's part of, stuff like that. But hopefully he gets at least a couple hours a day to relax and enjoy and play with this stuff. Yeah, like all kinds of scale accessories, we'll say. Um, he's definitely thought of some cool things to bring and things that you can build with the equipment to set up as well. So it's not just something we bring and set together and go, but we can actually use equipment to build some of it. And then some of it will be you just set it all up by hand and then it's done. It's a mix of stuff, but it will be super sweet. And I'm very looking forward to that, especially at Beat the Creek. I like the barn because doesn't matter what the weather does. It can get hot in there, but we've got fans. But Beat the Creek is known. I think there's only been 2 years that had beautiful weather the whole weekend. It's known for having either the whole weekend or at least one day be a pretty wicked thunderstorm and then make a mess, which is fun to drive in and everything. It's just, it makes a mess. So in the barn, we can run 24/7, all the time, no problem. And like I said, Jeremy and I will be running it. Joe, of course, is going to be busy. Jeremy won't be in there much Friday. Joe's got to have Jeremy helping him do other stuff around the place on Friday. But I'll be in there all day Friday. I will probably try and do my Ripper run of the creek to Beat the Creek with the Ripper on Saturday, I'm thinking, weather provided. I don't really want to go out there if it's downpouring. Everything's waterproof as far as I recall, so that doesn't really matter. But I'd rather not risk slipping and falling and busting my ass or something and getting this dog that's with me all filthy and have to hose him off at the hotel and all that kind of nonsense. So, yeah, I guess we'll let it go at that. And Chris, I will see you soon at Beat the Creek. Jeremy, I'll see you soon at Beat the Creek. Rob, RC Junkyard. I think most of you guys I will see at Beat the Creek, so that's cool. It'll be a good time. I expect 1,500, 2,000 people this year. So thanks for joining in, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week. Peace.